Haribol, Namaste, Krishna, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. So tonight we're discussing Chapter 5, Text 6. That's the final verse in this sequence about that Karma Yoga or devotional service is better than renunciation. So we'll just chant for a bit. Mati Sirasarupananda Paramahansa Vitinami Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutaya Mati Sirasarupananda Paramahansa Vitinamine Namo Sirasarupananda Paramahansa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Kristayate Namo Sirasarupananda Paramahansa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Kristayate Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Vicharini Devasesha Sunyavati Paskacha Esatarini Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Vicharini Devasesha Sunyavati Paskacha Esatarini Pachashi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Harita Karadara Shri Asariko Bhaktabhinda Pachashi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Harita Karadara Shri Yasiriko Bhaktivinoda Bhaji Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Yasiko Bhaktivinoda Bhaji Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Yasiriko Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna, Jaya Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinatha, Madana Mohana, Shamakunda Radhakunda, Kalindi Jamuna Jaya, Jaya Mahavan, Nityananda Nityananda, Gauranga Gauranga, Nityananda Nityananda, Gauranga Gauranga, Nityananda Nityananda, Gauranga Gauranga, Nityananda Nityananda, Gauranga Gauranga, Radha Krishna Vrindavan, 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 Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajika Satara Sata Shishimad Jigakuru Siddhaswarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajika Satara Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Mayapurdam Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Shima, all glories to Shima Bhagavad Gita, Ki Jai. Amagyana Timarandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanan Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. For speaking first I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagatguru Siddhaswarupananda Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, who is very dear to Radha and Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the fallen living entities, and are full of compassion upon them. Haribol, Namaste. Krishna. So last week, chanting the glorification mantras after the chant, suddenly Facebook said that I was infringing Sony Music's copyrights. So I protested, complained about that. I haven't heard back from them yet, but they blocked me from showing the video in Russia, the Facebook post in Russia, and in stopping me from downloading the video, so I couldn't put it on YouTube. So it was rather irritating. There's always something going on with these Facebook guys. Anyway, so we're continuing with chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And so we're discussing the sequence of verses. That's first 6 verses. Work and devotion is better than renunciation of work. So Karma Yoga is better than sannyas. Sannyas meaning to throw down or renounce. Karma Yoga meaning to, work without attachment to the results. So a fruitive worker works because they want the results, right? A kami, as they're called. Of course, this term kami was like within the ISKCON society in the early years. It was used as like a great criticism of someone. Oh, you're a kami. They would call people who didn't chant kamis, fruitive workers. It's like a derisive term. Of course, this always comes from the idea of somehow thinking we're superior to others, somehow because we've received the grace or the mercy of our spiritual master and Krishna, that somehow or other, despite our ineligibility, despite all our faults, somehow or other we're receiving the mercy of our spiritual master and Krishna and have taken to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Right? So this is our great good fortune, and it's not because of anything about us. It's not like it's not because of our great worthiness or our great eligibility that somehow that makes us superior to others. So we should always be careful to avoid any tendency to think that we're superior to others. Rather like the eligibility for receiving the holy name of the Lord, or being able to chant the holy names of the Lord. As Lord Chaitanya says in his third prayer, Trina Dapi Suni Sheno Taro Riva Sahishnuna. Junadapi Sunishe no means is lower than the straw on the street or the grass. There's nothing, like in India the streets are filthy, right? And they have open sewers, in the villages anyway, open Vrindavan village. They have the open sewers running down the side of the streets. And, so any grass or straw on the street, it's very, it's very filthy. Filthy. So when you go into a house, you remove your shoes and you wash your feet. Feet are washed, right, before you go into a house because it's so dirty. The straw on the street is like so low. Lord Chaitanya is telling us we should feel so low, feel lower than the straw on the street, so lower than the straw on the street. Nothing's lower than what can be lower than the straw on the street? Where, animals, the cows and the pigs and the dogs, they're all urinating and defecating in the street on the straw. People are walking along spitting. Of course, in India they like to chew betel nuts, so they're chewing it and then they spit it out, swallow it. And they spit it out on the streets, on the straw, so what can be lower? The Lord Chaitanya is telling us, be lower than the straw on the street. And Tarariva Sahishnuna, be tolerant like a tree, patient, tolerant. With tolerance comes forgiveness, being forgiving of others, tolerating others' offenses against us. So this is the mood, in which one can chant the holy name of the Lord. Kirtaniya Sadahari. Such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So this idea of thinking that a fruitive worker is lower than us and we can refer to them derisively, this is completely contrary to Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And of course, so we shouldn't feel ourselves as superior to these people either, right? We can become a little fanatical. I remember when I first started chanting. This is one of the benefits of children growing up in families of devotees. They generally don't get fanatical. Perhaps they can, but generally they don't. But when I first started chanting, I was like such a fanatic. I'm fanatical, thinking, this is the... without, like, a fanatic has actually no appreciation for the real teachings. It becomes like a false ego thing, thinking, I've joined a team and I'm so fortunate and I'm so great because I know this great truth and other people don't, and I'm trying to convince others, force others to accept these teachings, without appreciating their free will, their freedom, their God-given free will. I was reading, it was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day last week. I think it was last week. Anyway, I have some very nice books on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, on his, his biographies and his teachings, and there's some nice historical videos. But anyway, there's a story of where he was, talking to, someone, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, very much like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, talked to prominent people. Wherever he would go, prominent people would come to see him. And they would talk with him, much as when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was circling the globe, wherever he'd go, all different people would want to come and meet him, or his disciples would arrange meetings for him with mayors and professors and different prominent people in society. So anyway, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was talking to this person, and he was questioning, well, why, essentially, why is things set up the way they are? Why has Krishna given us free will so that we can decide not to serve him? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati began speaking about the Indian independence movement. And of course this was during Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's time. The independence movement in India was extremely strong. They're dominated by the British. There's Queen Victoria's like the queen of the Empress of India, took on the title Empress of India, and her son, when he became king, he took on, he also had the title, and so they were dominating and exploiting India. Of course, the history of the British East India, this is prior to the Indian Mutiny, to which in India they now often call the First War of Independence, but the British East India Company was it's a for-profit company, and it gained a charter from the British government that it could take over overseas countries and trade. So they came to India, and then they basically engaged in warfare and took political control of almost the whole country. And why were they doing this? It was so they could exploit and this term loot, right? They essentially looted. It's an Indian term, but they essentially looted Bengal, of course, where Lord Chaitanya appeared, and performed most of his pastimes in Orissa to the south. And they looted all the wealth and took it back to England. You can go to England now, and there's all these old castles full of all kinds of wealth and things from India. So the British East India Company was just exploiting the people and governing the people solely to satisfy their shareholders back in England. It's not like the British government was ruling India. It was the British East India Company. And so their business model was to sell opium to China, right, in exchange for trade goods of tea, principally, tea and silks and so on, and porcelains and Chinaware and so on, right? But the Chinese didn't want anything. They're a very self-sufficient country. We don't need anything from you guys. So then they came up with opium, right? So this is the business model is like exploiting and causing suffering to others so that they can maximize profits. This was all legal. This is all before drugs and so on became illegal. And so anyway, this is like the history of and then then they did this thing with the bullets. There's this saying, bite the bullet, right? So this came from the British East India Company has its own private army, and they had muzzle loading bullets. In other words, you have to stick them down the muzzle of the rifle, and they started making these bullets, and they had and this rumor went around amongst the sepoys, or the Indian soldiers in the British East India Army, that these bullets were coated with beef fat and or pig fat. And so of course the Muslims consider pig fat to be, the pigs to be very unclean animals. So they didn't want to deal with these bullets. And the Hindus, of course the cow is sacred. And so the saying, bite the bullet, comes from, with these bullets, you have to bite off the end of it, and then pour the gunpowder down the muzzle, and then you put the bullet in, push it down with some wad or something, push it down, and then they fire it. So you have to bite the bullet, right? This is where the saying "bite the bullet" comes from, right? To the British, to the Indian soldiers, just bite the bullet. Now, of course, some of them did, but a bunch of them weren't going for it, and they mutinied. So after the mutiny, of course, then the British government took over, and became more of a more benevolent, having the interests of the Indians in mind. But of course, there's still the British Empire. Of course, any empire is about exploitation, extracting wealth and bringing it back to the mother country. But anyway, it's a lot better than a for-profit company. Right? The government has at least attempts to have the welfare of the people in mind, whereas a for-profit company, the only people's interest they have in mind is the shareholders. But anyway, to get back to the story, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was saying, well, people want independence. They want independent. They wanted independent from the British, and and then the British were saying, well, look, no, you're not. This won't work out well. You're not qualified to make good decisions. So we're not going to give you independence. So this went on for quite a while, like this kind of discussion, and then eventually the Indians said, well, look, we want the freedom to make bad decisions, to do wrong. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's point was, well, that freedom is an important value that people have. Freedom to do wrong. So we all have our free will, our God-given free will, as we say, which is completely true. We have our God-given free will. And so, a devotee should always appreciate that everyone has their free will. So we should never be fanatical, trying to force people to agree with our viewpoint. We can respect that they have their God-given free will. If they don't want to chant Krishna's names, well, okay. That's their choice. This is the freedom of choice, free will, independence that Krishna has given to the jiva. The jiva is Krishna's, or jiva shakti, or tatashta shakti, Krishna's marginal potency. We're on the border. We have the freedom to either enter into the spiritual world or into the material world. We have the choice of, if we choose that we want to be the enjoyer, then this mentality of being the enjoyer, separate from Krishna, then we are immediately in this material world, this world of Maya, that which is not, illusion. And it's a place of education. So anyway, so that was just a little story about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But anyway, so this sequence of verses, the first 6 verses about work in devotion is better than renunciation. So I was talking about kami yoga. So kamis actually means someone who's following the Vedic injunctions. That's a kami. Someone who's not following the Vedic injunctions, they're not even a kami, because they're engaged in irreligious activities, so akama or vikama, if they're engaged in sinful activities. So strictly speaking, the term wasn't even correct, kami meaning fruitive worker. But in the broader sense, of course, fruitive worker is a correct description, because everybody is working, they only work to enjoy the fruit. They want the fruit of their actions. So what's motivating us to do what we're doing? Well, I want to enjoy the fruit. Whereas so karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga, is work without desire to enjoy the fruits. And so the ultimate expression of this is bhakti yoga, where we work with that for the pleasure of Krishna, offering the results, but not only offering the results, but offering the actual work itself, what we're doing. I'm doing this for you, Krishna. I'm engaged in your service. I'm engaged in your transcendental loving service. So internally I'm developing my loving relationship with Krishna, and externally I'm engaging in his activities in his service. We engage in our spiritual master's projects. So there's karma yoga sort of becomes bhakti yoga. And so jnana yoga also, bhakti yoga is based upon knowledge. So we're studying Bhagavad Gita. This is jnana, or knowledge, transcendental knowledge. 4th chapter was, entitled Transcendental Knowledge. So bhakti yoga is, loving yoga, the yoga of loving devotion, the yoga of, linking up, uniting with the Supreme, uniting with Krishna in love. Right? But to develop this love, we need to have knowledge of who Krishna is. We don't need too much knowledge. We don't need to be great scholars or Sanskritists or so on. But we have enough knowledge to know who Krishna is, and who I am, and what this material world is, and the different loving relationships that one can have with Krishna. So we learn, we read Krishna book, we engage ourselves in thinking about and hearing about. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So Kirtanam, chanting about, speaking about Vishnu or Krishna, his pastimes. So hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. His nama, guna, rupa and lila. Nama, his name; rupa, his form; guna, his qualities; and lila, his pastimes. So, so anyway, we've been studying these 6 verses over the past 5 weeks, and in the first text, Arjuna asked Krishna, "Look, tell me what is better. Please tell me what's better. Should I renounce work? Should I not engage in work? But at the same time, you're telling me to work." So and Arjuna, of course, is trying to fight. In his case, is to fight. And Arjuna, as I've mentioned many times, Arjuna is trying to figure out whether Krishna is telling him that, yeah, it's okay, Arjuna, you don't have to fight. You can renounce your duties, right? But Krishna, on the other hand, Krishna keeps telling him, no, you need to fight. So Arjuna's confused. So he's asking Krishna, please tell me, what should I do? Should I fight? Right? And then Krishna says that quite clearly, in text 2, the renunciation of work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work and devotional service, or karma yoga, is better than renunciation of works, or sannyas. So, and then and Krishna then sort of expands upon this in the next few verses. And then in last week's verse, Krishna said, one who knows that the position reached by means of renunciation can also be attained by works in devotional service. So again, by means of sannyas or through karma yoga, the one who therefore sees the path of works, or the path of karma yoga, and the path of renunciation, sannyas, are one, sees things as they are. So in other words, both of these are good, right? Renunciation is good. Pursuing Sankhya, Krishna also spoke about Sankhya, right? So Krishna is talking about the path of jnana, or Sankhya, or meditation. So in other words, some people they just like to do that. They don't want to. So people are Brahminical in temperament. This is kind of their temperament. They're studying the scriptures. They're engaged in meditation. They're not so active, and they've already come to a platform of realizing, I'm not the body, I'm spiritual in essence. My function is to render love to the Supreme Lord. So they're renouncing activities. Or they can be probably more applicable because of a Vaishnava. Actually, there's two kinds, like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada explained. There's the bhajanandis, so you have the Vaishnavas who engage in bhajan, worship. They're not so active. And then you have the Gosvanandis, and who are actively serving the Supreme Lord. They're also, of course, engaging in worship, but they're active, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He had the opportunity to stay within Vrindavan Dham. He's living at the Radha Damodar temple. Out of his room where he would prepare his meals, he's looking at the Samadhi tomb of Srila Rupa Goswami and his bhajan kutir, where Srila Rupa Goswami would perform his bhajan, or chanting his japa and meditating upon the pastimes of Shri Radha Krishna. There's also samadhi there of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and a number of other highly elevated and wonderful Vaishnavas. And there's the deities of Radha Damodar established by Srila Jiva Goswami. So it's like he describes the Radha Damodar temple as like the center of the spiritual universe. So he's living there in Vrindavan. So definitely he's engaged in his worship of Krishna, his bhajan. But he was motivated by the desire of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who encouraged him from his very first meeting in 1922 to preach in the West. This was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's desire, that these teachings of Lord Chaitanya be taken to the West. Of course, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, at that time he's a follower Gandhi. He's wearing the clothes of a follower of Gandhi, Kadi. And, he describes to Bhaktisiddhanta, first we need to achieve independence. No one will listen to us. We're a subjugated nation. We need to achieve independence first. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur impressed upon him, no. This is a temporary situation. The material situation is temporary and essentially irrelevant. The real danger is for the living entity is under the influence of Maya. We're in a terrible situation in the darkness of ignorance. The end of life, we're all reincarnating to new bodies. No idea where we're going down to animal species or even trees, experiencing birth, diseases, old age and death, on the wheel of samsara from time immemorial. And so these teachings of Lord Chaitanya need to be given to everyone. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was convinced. And, this desire to... And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur subsequently several times, and in fact in a final letter to Bhaktivedanta Swami in 1936, just before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left this world on 1st of January 1937, again telling him to preach in the Western world. So, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami is living his life leading up to this moment where he's going to go to the West, so a Gosvanandi, actively preaching and serving. So this is Krishna's point all the way through. The true renunciate, so a person engaged in karma yoga is an actual renunciate. He's not attached to the results. And he's working for Krishna's pleasure. So one who sees that the path of works and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. Then Krishna says in tonight's verse, unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages, purified by works of devotion, achieve the supreme without delay. Sannyasa stu mahabaho dukkha maputam ayogataha yoga yukto munuya brahma nacharena digachate. Sannyasa stu mahabaho dukkha maputam ayogataha yoga yukto munu brahma nacharena digachate. So the first pada or quarter verse, sannyasaha, so the renounced order of life, or more simply just renunciation or throwing down, to, but, indeed, or however, mahabaho, a mighty armed one. So renunciation indeed, O Arjuna, dukkham, distress, difficult, painful. So dukkham maptam ayogataha, aptam, to be afflicted with, to attain, to obtain, to encounter, ayogataha, without devotional service or without yoga, without selflessly offering the results of one's action to the Supreme Lord. So the two quarter verses, the two padas which make up a pankti or a single line, as renunciation indeed, O Arjuna, is difficult to attain without yoga. So this dukkham, distress, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami says here, unless one is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. So, happy. So the word here is dukkham, or distress. So this is also that, one who just renouncing one's duties, becoming a renunciate, but not being engaged in karma yoga, performing one's duties without selflessly offering the fruit to the Supreme Lord, or without being engaged in devotional service. It's difficult. It's either this dukkham and aptam means it's difficult. It's difficult to attain without yoga, without karma yoga, or without doing it for Krishna. So it cannot make one happy. Happiness is the goal, right? So if we become a renunciate, sometimes people become devotees, and they just, they're thinking, I just want to chant the holy names. Maybe we hear of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, who would chant 192 rounds a day, 3 lakhs of names, right? 300,000 names, or 192 rounds a day. And would eat very simply, just live in a hut, and so maybe we think, I want to say a hut, like, Haridas Thakur would live in caves, very simply, very renounced. So sometimes we think, I'd like to be a renunciate like that. But if we don't actually have transcendental realization and an actual loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, with Krishna, then we'll just be pretenders, as Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. You'll just be a pretender. To artificially renounce the world and engage in meditation without having actual realization is just pretense. Pretending to be a devotee. Sometimes my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he calls me a pretender. Or he has called me a pretender. And I'm sure he still would today. But it's like engaging, being in the dress of a devotee and acting like a disciple, what we may think a disciple is supposed to act like. In other words, we go through the external motions. We say Hari Bol, we go to the gatherings, we chant, maybe we read scripture, we try to act as though we're a devotee or how we think a devotee should act. But actually we're not a devotee. We don't have love for our spiritual master and Krishna. So we're going through the motions. It's like we're pretending to be a devotee. We go through the motions of being a devotee, but without actually being a devotee. This term devotee means, what it means. It means to be devoted. To be devoted to Krishna and our spiritual master. Sometimes, of course, Prabhupada, he always, he's always spoken strongly about spiritual life is not about joining a team. It's not about pledging allegiance to him or to anyone else. It's not about pledging allegiance or joining a team or joining an institution. Somehow, sometimes we talk about, we have our community of devotees, right? Within there's Vaishnavas, there's Sampradayas within Vaishnavas, within Vaishnavism, and then within the Sampradayas, there's different lineages, and so we're coming in a lineage, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and we very much keep to ourselves. We don't go and associate with our spiritual cousins, or ISKCON, or the different branches of the Gaudiya Math, that there are. We keep to ourselves. Prabhupada's done this deliberately to protect us, to avoid people becoming confused or potentially hearing criticisms or whatever. So we tend to keep to ourselves. And so why was I saying that? Lost my train of thought there. So we can think, I've become a member of the community. I'm a member of the Srila Prabhupada community, the Jagat Guru Siddha Swarupananda Srila Prabhupada community. So a new person can begin chanting, and they can start feeling, or an old person or someone who grew up in this community can feel, I'm a member of this community. And so somehow we can begin to think, this is what devotional service is. It's like being a member of this community. It's about, and pledging allegiance to Srila Prabhupada or something, So this is not devotional service. These things are helpful, of course. Association with devotees is very important, absolutely critical. If we associate with non-devotees, it's totally destructive. If we associate with non-devotees, association doesn't mean, I do business with them, or I go to some school or university and there's some students there and I sort of, make a little bit of friendship with them. Association means to become, like taking it beyond that and then going associating with them and taking on their values, where they're influencing me, instead of me influencing them to become more in the mode of goodness and to become devotees of Krishna, they're influencing me to take drugs or engage in illicit sexual activities or gamble or whatever, right? Whatever they're doing, or just influencing me to become an enjoyer of the world, to see myself as the central and enjoying agent. So of course association with devotees is very important. But the bigger point I'm making is that the path, Krishna is saying here, that the path of karma yoga or action is safer and it's better and it's purifying. The path of renunciation, of just going and imitating the great Vaishnavas like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta when he was younger and very renounced, or Srila Haridas Thakur, or Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, or any of the 6 Goswamis who are incredibly renounced. If we try to imitate them, we'll just be a pretender. So this path of karma yoga, engaging in action, like serving our spiritual masters, why our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he gives us projects. So what's a project? It's something that Prabhupada's doing, some goal he wants to achieve, and he engages his disciples and students in that project. And so this is karma yoga, right? Keeping us busy. And so our minds are thinking about our project, not our Prabhupada's project. We're thinking about his project. How can I help in his project? And so thinking about this project, this is spiritually beneficial. It may appear to be mundane. We're doing something, a business, or we're arranging classes, or we're helping with typesetting, or typing books, or transcribing, like whatever it is, we're engaged in some kind of action that other people are engaging. People who aren't chanting, aren't serving Prabhupada, aren't devoted, they're engaging in the same kind of actions. But that's not karma yoga. That's not devotional service. It's devotional service is about, why am I doing what I'm doing? I'm engaging in these actions out of my devotion to my spiritual master and Krishna. Now, of course, I may have an attitude where I'm not devoted, I'm not doing it out of love. Devotion means love, loving devotion. Right? So spontaneously wanting to do something for my spiritual master and Krishna because I'm in a loving relationship with them and I want to please them. This is devotional service. So we may be doing these things because I want something. I want to get liberated. Or I want to be recognized within my little community of friends. I want them to think that I'm a devotee. I want some reputation or fame. I want some acknowledgement. I want people to look up to me and respect me. So this is that. If we have these kind of attitudes, this is not actual devotional service. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami describes this as bathing in the donkey urine of desire for fame. So this is a big impediment in our devotional life. So the importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, cleansing the heart, cleansing the consciousness, the citta, of all the contamination of lifetimes. So that finishes the first theme of chapter 5. And actually next week I'm traveling just for a week. I'm going to the mainland USA, so no class next week. So we'll resume in 2 weeks, and we're moving on to a new theme. So in this theme we've been discussing, Krishna is saying Karma Yoga is the best, better than renunciation. And the next thing, Krishna then just begins to expand upon Karma Yoga itself and the attitude that one should have as we work, as we perform Karma Yoga. So thank you very much. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, Krishna Krishna.